Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
Together again.
Yes.
Together again. So this is a kind of an important video. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting has formally dissolved. Now, they said they were going to, or probably going to. They have dissolved, and there probably is going to be a domino effect that could potentially see the end of NPR and or PBS within the next few months to a year or two.
Well, they did get funding for a lot of places, but now it's kind of like every rat for themselves type situation. Because when you don't have the government paying for you,
right?
If you can't stay in business without being funded by taxpayer dollars, then maybe you should have not be in business because no one else gets the taxpayer funding to stay in business.
Yeah, it's so wild to see. All they had to do was just turn the money off, and all these media outlets just completely imploded. And, PBS served a function, NPR served a function in a particular, time and place. I would say that they're probably 30 years past their expiration date at this point. But we're going to take a look at this and see what this might mean. And they want this Catherine Marr to leave. She's the NPR CEO. They were asking her to resign. She's the one who said that truth was subjective, or maybe we shouldn't pursue truth, and she was in charge of NPR.
Before that, she was Wikipedia. That's why you never trust Wikipedia.
Yeah.
You said Wikipedia. I'm not
She was
sure.
in charge of Wikipedia, yeah.
Well, up till last year, she got into NPR, or no, 2024. Last year to me seems like 2024. She came in, and I'm sorry, when you have someone that says stuff like truth is subjective, it's probably not a good idea.
No,
to put them in charge of things that call me crazy.
So we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You'll get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo! I'll give you another woohoo because I forgot yesterday. Woohoo!
Yeah, people said you forgot your woohoo.
I am sorry. I'm not used to doing it by myself.
So many jokes.
I know. Just behave.
So yeah, they're cutting the funding to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which partly bankrolls PBS and NPR. And they decided to just dissolve. But it's interesting how they're trying to spin this in The Guardian. They're like, people are rage giving rural public radio. I'm like, I got to be honest. The people listening to NPR, they're not in rural areas.
Not usually. Not usually, no.
Usually hipster infested areas, I would say Portland, Seattle, San Francisco. You know what I'm saying? So what PBS was supposed to be for, NPR was supposed to be for, and who it ultimately wound up being for are two very different things, right? And they try to spin it like it's rural people. I'm like, the rural folks have moved on from PBS and NPR. They moved on decades ago.
I don't hear anybody talking about either one in a positive way. But flip side of this, if people are going to rage give, then you know what? That's up to you. That's your money. If you want to support those things and keep them available, then by all means do so. I liked your idea. You had said that if you want to take some of your tax return and use it to fund PBS or NPR, you should be allowed to do so.
Yeah, I think so.
And then that money would be, because it would come back to you anyway, it's a donation. I think, if people want to give money to that thing, that's great. But don't try to say, maybe in some states that it's a big thing in the rural area. I can tell you here it's not.
No, PBS was bigger, obviously, when we were kids. I watched it mostly for the science fiction. They used to have Doctor Who and Star Trek and stuff on it. But I don't think it's really relevant anymore. And I think a lot of rural folks feel like PBS and NPR left them behind, right? A long time ago. And it's weird because NPR especially is so much of a joke now that we're watching Abbott Elementary the other night.
The
old seasons of it. And they had Jacob on there, who's basically your typical, which I'm shocked they did this, right? Your stereotypical progressive ally. And he's the butt of many jokes, but they actually made a joke about him being like NPR on legs.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
And that's coming from an ABC show, right? So I'm just saying, like, everybody knows NPR is a joke. But here's the story. This comes from the Hollywood Reporter. Corporation for Public Broadcasting formally dissolves after loss of federal funding. The CPB's board voted to end operations rather than leave it unfunded and vulnerable to additional attacks.
What attacks?
What attacks? You're dead in the water, right? So
I mean, if you're already dead and you don't have the funding, or you're going to take the funding you have and give it to somebody else, how is that? I don't understand how you're open to more attacks. Attacks of what? Having your funding cut?
I don't understand what else you have to lose. It's like, what, you want to be double dead? I mean, I don't understand. So they announced Monday the board had voted to dissolve the corporation after 58 years. It's been around as long as I can remember. I mean, every time we watch Sesame Street or Electric Company.
Yeah, but 58 years ago was a much different time than it is now.
Much different time. No
We're
internet.
talking like the 60s, late 60s, and it was a different time. People didn't always have access. Like it was mostly just network television back then. We didn't have even a lot of the cable and satellite TV that later came on. We didn't have like Netflix. We didn't have YouTube and all the places you can go watch this stuff for free now. Then we do now.
Yeah. And it made sense. And rural Americans definitely did use, PBS and NPR back then.
Yes, then.
Because you only got, I remember, when I was a kid, if you had an antenna, you got ABC, CBS, NBC. I say that twice, CBS, ABC. Yeah, whatever. The networks. The networks. And then you got, in our case, it was WVIA, which was out of Scranton, which was a PBS. And that was it. That's all you got with an antenna. So, yeah, it was important then, but again, now you've got the internet, you really don't need it. And the news is biased, right? So this is the CEO, Patricia Harrison. She said in a pointed statement that dissolving the corporation was the best option to help preserve public media in the U.S. For more than half a century, CPB existed to ensure that all Americans, regardless of geography, income, or background, had access to trusted news, educational programming, and local storytelling. Well, they don't really do a lot locally, most of them.
No, and trusted news is subjective. Well, they do like town stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think they have to. I think it's like, okay, you got to do a little local something just to, we had Uncle Ted. Uncle Ted was kind of like our local Svengoolie. He was a Shriner. Yeah, he was a Shriner to introduce the horror movies. He came to our school once. That was pretty cool.
Wait, so the horror movie intro guy came to your elementary school?
Yes.
Wow.
With his Shriner hat, the whole thing. Yeah.
But he would do horror movies.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Hey, don't ask questions, right?
Well, that's what they want. NPR doesn't want you to ask questions, but this would have been PBS.
But then I moved to California. And when we moved to California, like NPR was a huge deal, but we lived in the Bay Area. So
that's what I'm saying. And like you're saying, in the cities, they're going to be screaming about NPR. But NPR, right as of now, NPR and PBS are not closing. They're getting funding other ways. This is just about the CPB.
So they said CPB's final act would be to protect the integrity of the public media system and the democratic values it embodies by dissolving rather than allowing the organization to remain defunded and vulnerable to additional attacks. Look at the books.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. What other tax would there be? You're defunded. Like, you have to either get your funding or shut down. So that just sounds to me like you're saying that as opposed to saying, well, no one's going to give us money for this shit, so we're shutting down.
Yeah. Public media remains essential to a healthy democracy. Our hope is that future leaders and generations will recognize its value, defend its independence, and continue the work of ensuring that trustworthy, educational, and community-centered media remains accessible. It's called Facebook.
Well, not just that. It's like trustworthy is subjective, as the NPR chick would say. But, a lot of people don't watch that because in public TV, you still have to have access to like cable or different things to get it. Yeah. But beyond that, people just go online. They don't need public TV anymore. Like, there's no need for it. It's just a control thing at this point.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It got hijacked. I mean, the original intention was good. You think back when we were kids and we had, Sesame Street, 3-2-1 Contact, Electric Company, and for the most part, they weren't like super political. Even the news, I don't remember it being political. Actually, people used to comment that the news back then was really boring. The PBS news was really boring, and that was always like artsy fartsy stuff, like the ballet and the.
Well, yeah, they used to they thought Bob Ross would be on there sometimes.
Bob Ross was on there, and the German guy who was Bob Ross's mentor, I guess. I can't remember. William Alexander. We used to watch him too, and but yeah. So I mean, they had some educational stuff on there for sure, but it doesn't seem like they're even with the animated series like. They're even attempting to be educational anymore. Now it's indoctrination. Like, you look at a lot of the shit that they're putting into these cartoon shows that are being funded by the government, and it's like, what are you doing? And a lot of it, because of Sesame Street doing well and Tickle Me Elmo and all that, I think they're looking at the merchandising end of it. I think they're just like, oh yeah, we can make action figures, dolls, Sesame Street stopped being Sesame Street decades ago when they realized Tickle Me Elmo dolls were a moneymaker.
Well, they wouldn't. If they made Tickle Me Elmo dolls today, I'm surprised. I don't know, because I would think that would be problematic.
Kevin Clash was tickling.
I'm just saying.
Somebody.
I know. I'm just saying. Tickle Me Elmo, they would argue it's problematic because it's teaching kids that strangers are allowed to tickle you.
Oh God, Bad Touch Big Bird.
Bad Touch Big Bird. There you go.
No, Snuffy.
Do you want to know why they call me Big Bird? Anyway.
Oh my God. Well, that's what happened with Mr. Snuffleupagus. I guess they made him real for everybody else too, because they were afraid it was going to send the wrong message that kids were telling their parents about, strangers or bad touch or whatever, and they weren't believing them. So they're like, oh yeah, we need everybody to believe that Mr. Snuffleupagus is a real thing, because we don't want people to accuse kids of being liars. Anyway, so that was that was devastating when I was a kid. It was like, oh my God, it's not fun now. It's not fun. Yeah. So they're talking this. This is the head of NPR. This Catherine Mayer. She looks very pleasant. She is not fun. I can tell.
She came from other non-profits prior to this. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a certain, I hate to be that guy. I've known people that have spent most of their careers working for nonprofits, and your job is basically to beg for grant money continuously to justify your existence by hook or by crook. And they had a very similar attitude. They weren't very pleasant people. But anyway, she was asked to resign ahead of the Trump government spending cuts. Apparently, the request came before the cuts. They called on NPR's CEO Catherine Mayer to resign ahead of looming federal spending cuts, according to a New York Times piece published Tuesday. The Times reported that since becoming NPR CEO in 2024, Mayer had received backlash not only from right-wing activists over alleged political bias, but from fellow from fellow public broadcasting organizations as well. According to two people familiar with the remarks, Patricia Harrison, the chief executive who issued that statement, reportedly spoke to Maher in the spring about whether to acknowledge concerns from listeners who viewed NPR's reporting as biased.
Yeah, it's very biased. I think everybody, okay, well, it's interesting to know other people agree.
She rebuffed the suggestion, that'd be Maher. She didn't believe that NPR was biased. The truth is subjective. And she thought saying so would undermine the organization and fail to placate those who were critical of the network, according to a person familiar with her thinking. After she refused, months of simmering tension between the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and NPR came to the surface. Harrison told Maher she should resign her position for the good of public media. So they were trying to get rid of her before.
Maybe she kind of wonder what she's getting paid.
Yeah, she just was. Every clip of her. I mean, again, these are clips, but she did the TED Talk, the infamous TED Talk when she was at Wikipedia. And
I guess it was kind of like it's different truths, which would be subjective. But yeah, it's the different truths. There's no different truth. There's the truth, and then there's how you look at it. But that's your perception. But this the truth.
So it's almost like they're rage quitting it to be like, well, we're not going to let Trump get a hold of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. But I'm telling you, the dominoes are going to fall without the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. They're already laying people off at NPR and CBS. I don't think they're going to survive this. I'm going to be real here. I don't think they are.
I know they said they're backing up the public broadcasting archives and stuff at different
places. That sounds
places.
final.
Yeah, they're backing them up at one of the universities and someplace else in their building or something. They're making backups of everything. But yeah, I think it's pretty much toast. NPR is laying people off. It's pretty bad when they were asking her to quit.
Yeah.
So there had something going on down that way too, and she wouldn't. So I wonder if it was they had to try to get her to quit when she wouldn't. They're quitting. I don't know, but it is.
So yeah, I think what needs to happen. This will just kind of wrap up with this because they're talking about the local stations, what they do. I'm like, let's just pull a UHF and just do 100% local programming, or they could start like a co-op or something.
It's called Facebook, or not Facebook. Facebook and YouTube.
That's pretty much it.
Everything that you would have seen on those public channels, you could just get on YouTube and Facebook. Every day, all the time.
Your kids are watching CoComelon. They're learning how to fix shit by watching YouTube videos, right? You don't need Bob Vila when you've got a bunch of people fixing their own shit on YouTube and posting it online for free, and you only watch what you want to watch, and you don't have to deal with somebody begging for money.
Yeah, and you get people that are breaking it down that you can understand it. It's not some highfalutin bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a product of its time. We had good memories, right? But I think it's over. I think it's over. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But Sesame Street will be fine. It's on like Netflix and YouTube, and they're gonna sell Elmo and Abby dolls from now until the end of time, probably. We'll see. Are we gonna wrap it up?
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.